Chosen one, before you go any further, I want you to do something. Notice your chest right now, not your thoughts, not your plans for later. Your chest. There is a weight that has been living there, not this week, not even this month, but for longer than you have told anyone about. A quiet pressure. The kind that shows up when the day slows down and the noise stops and it is just you and the distance between where you are and where you know, somewhere deep inside, you were supposed to be by now. That is not anxiety. That is not failure. That is the physical evidence of a message that has been in transit toward you for longer than you know. Here is something most people are never told. God does not send every message with the same frequency. Some truths are patient and persistent. They find you a dozen different ways, circling back again and again until you are ready to receive them. But there is a category of divine communication that operates completely differently. It arrives at one specific threshold in a life, calibrated for the exact version of you that exists in this moment, and it does not return the same way twice. You have been waiting for clarity, for direction, for the quiet to break open into something you could finally name and hold and move toward. The waiting is over. What you are about to receive was not assembled for a general audience. It was placed in front of you in this moment, at this exact point in your story, because the one who knows the architecture of your life decided it was time. You did not find this found you. Stay with me through everything I am about to share, because by the time we reach the end, 3 things will have shifted for you. You will understand why you have not been able to hear clearly, and it is not what you think. You will know the specific identity that has been trying to reach you in this season, and you will leave this space carrying something real that you can walk into tomorrow with. All of it is coming. Do not move. Let me start with something you already know, but have not fully received yet. You have heard messages before, encouragements, scriptures, words spoken over you in moments of worship or in your own quiet time. Words that felt good when they arrived and then faded by the following week. And somewhere along the way, you started to wonder whether that fading was your fault, whether you were not holding on tightly enough, or praying long enough, or believing hard enough. But here is what no one explained to you. Not all messages are built the same. There is a kind of divine communication that is steady and recurring, present in the daily moments, available every morning, patient and generous. These messages are real. They matter. They keep you going. But they were never designed to reorganize your entire life. They were designed to sustain it. And then there is another kind, rare, specific, unrepeatable. Ancient Greek has a word for it, kairos. It does not translate neatly. It means the right moment, the appointed intersection, not measured in minutes or hours, but in meaning. A kairos moment is not about when. It is about where you are, in your formation, in your calling, in your readiness to receive what you could not have received before now. And when kairos arrives, it does not repeat itself, because it does not need to. The message is complete. The door is open. The only question is whether you walk through it. The people who miss a kairos moment rarely miss it because they were not spiritual enough. They miss it because they treated it like the daily ones. They kept waiting for it to come back, to repeat, to get louder. And while they waited for the repetition, the season moved forward without them. You are at a kairos threshold right now. I know that because of what has been happening inside you, not dramatically, quietly. Let me name some of what you may already be noticing. You have been more sensitive lately to words, to songs, to small moments that somehow land with a weight that does not match their size. There are conversations that keep returning to your mind, not because something went wrong in them, but because something in them is still speaking. There are things you worked hard for that suddenly feel hollow, like they are no longer pointing anywhere that matters. And underneath all of it, there is a clarity that has not fully arrived, yet it is close. The way a word sits on the tip of your tongue, and you cannot quite say it, but you know it is there. These are not symptoms of confusion. These are signals of preparation. They are the signs of a person being made ready to receive at a level they have not been able to receive before, and the preparation is almost complete. Moses understood what this felt like, even though he did not recognize it while it was happening. He was in the back of the wilderness. Ordinary work no one noticed and no one celebrated. The kind of work that makes you wonder if the years are just passing or actually adding up to something. And there was a burning bush on a hillside he had probably walked past 100 times. The bush had always been there. The fire was burning. What changed was not the message. What changed was that Moses turned aside. He stopped. He said, "Without words, this matters more than my routine." The message was already burning. It was waiting for someone who would stop long enough to receive it. Here is what most people miss about that story. God did not send a message that was impossible to ignore. He sent a message that required a choice. Turn aside or keep walking. Give it space or pass by. You turned aside. You are here. That is not a small thing. But I need to show you something even deeper than this, because there is a specific reason the Kairos message has been difficult to receive, and it is not what most people expect. It has something to do with what has been happening in your brain since you were 7 years old. And when you understand it, the spiritual dryness, the fog between the message that was sent and the message you have been able to receive is going to make complete sense. There is something that happens to every human being around the age of 7 that no one teaches in most spiritual spaces. And I want to walk you through it carefully because it changes the entire conversation. When you were a child, before school systems and social pressure began to shape the way you processed the world, your brain was operating at a frequency that neuroscientists now identify as the gamma state. It is the highest brainwave frequency documented in human neuroscience, and in young children it runs almost continuously. In the gamma state, learning is effortless, pattern recognition is extraordinary, intuition is sharp and immediate. The distance between a question and its answer is almost nothing. Children do not have to try to be creative or perceptive, they simply are, because their brains have not yet been trained to suppress the very capacity they were born with. And then, around age 7, something begins to shift. Researchers call it the decline effect, a documented, measurable process in which the brain's highest receptive capacity is gradually suppressed. Not by accident, but as an adaptation to the world we are asked to perform in. The world rewards compliance, predictability, measurable output. It does not reward the deep knowing, the quiet intuition. The voice that speaks before logic has had time to catch up. By adulthood, most people are operating at a fraction of the gamma capacity they were born with. And what we experience as spiritual dryness, the inability to hear guidance clearly, the fog between the prompting and the understanding, has a neurological component that is rarely discussed outside of research institutions. The signal did not stop. The receiver was suppressed. Now I want to be direct with you here, because this matters. This is not a simple problem, and there is no single solution that works for everyone the same way. But there is a specific tool I came across that addresses the neurological side of this in a way I have not seen anywhere else, and I think it is worth sharing honestly. Dr. Robert Lake is a neuroscientist with 34 years of research into what scientists call brain entrainment, the science of guiding the brain back into its natural high receptive states. He spent years working alongside institutions like MIT, Harvard, Stanford, and Princeton, studying what happens in the brain during moments of deep insight, creative breakthrough, and what people of faith have always described as clarity from a higher source. What he found was that the gamma state, the one suppressed by the decline effect, can be reactivated. Not through months of meditation practice, which takes tremendous discipline that most people cannot sustain. Not through biofeedback equipment that costs $7,000 to install at home. Not through willpower or spiritual striving, but through a specific kind of audio technology embedded into a 7-minute track, that uses precise sound frequencies to gently guide the brain back into the receptive state it was designed to operate in. He called it the Genius Song. I want to be clear about what this is and what it is not. This is not a spiritual promise. It is a scientific tool. It does not create divine connection. Nothing external can do that. What it does is clear the neurological interference that has been sitting between you and the signal that was already there. 7 minutes. Headphones. Eyes closed. That is the entire practice. To activate gamma through traditional methods, biofeedback therapy runs around $300 per hour. At-home equipment costs approximately $7,000. Dr. Lake compressed the same core technology into an audio track and made it available at $49. But because he wanted it to reach people who genuinely need it, not just those who can afford premium options, he made a special arrangement for people who encounter it through spaces like this one. $39. That price does not exist on Amazon. It does not exist anywhere else, only here. With that, you receive the main track and 4 additional resources, an audio designed for children, the original book that inspired the film The Secret, a guided visualization across 4 major life areas, and a practical infographic with the 5 most effective habits for building toward the life you were made for. Everything included, with a full money-back guarantee. No conditions, no explanation required. One thing I need to say, and I mean this seriously. There are imitation products circulating under similar names, audio files built without the actual brain entrainment technology inside them. They are ordinary sound files that produce no real neurological shift. The only verified source for Dr. Lake's original work, with the full technology intact, all 4 bonuses, and the guarantee, is the link in the description and the pinned comment below. Do not search elsewhere. Do not accept a substitute. If this resonates, if something in you recognizes that the receiving has been blocked and you want a practical tool to support the clearing work, the link is there for you. For anyone who feels called to it, no pressure, no obligation. But whether or not that tool is for you, what I want you to understand goes deeper than any tool. Because the real reason God has been building toward this specific message for this specific season of your life has almost nothing to do with your brain. It has everything to do with who you are. And this is the part most people never hear. This is the part that does not just change how you feel today. It changes how you understand your entire story. Stay with me. I want to take you back to something I said at the very beginning. I told you there is a category of message that arrives once at one specific threshold for one specific version of you. I told you the signal has been blocked, and I showed you something with a name and a mechanism. And I told you something even more important was still coming. Here it is. Every person in history who has received a once-in-a-season divine communication did not just receive it for themselves, they became it. The message did not stay inside them. It moved through them into the world, and the world around them was not changed by what they heard. It was changed by what they carried. Moses did not receive instructions at the burning bush and then go home to reflect on them quietly. He went back to Egypt. He walked into the most terrifying room of his life, stood in front of the most powerful man in the world, and he became the message God had sent. Esther did not receive a word about her moment and then settle back into the comfort of the palace. Mordecai said to her, "For such a time as this." And what he was saying was not, "You will receive something special." He was saying, "You are something special placed at the exact intersection of your life and what the world needs from you right now." The message was not information for Esther, it was a revelation of her identity. And then there is Mary. Of all the once-in-a-season moments in the record of sacred history, hers is the most extraordinary. The angel did not come to explain a plan. The angel came to tell Mary who she already was in the mind of God, blessed before she understood why, carrying something the world had been waiting for without knowing it was waiting. She did not become the vessel by achieving something. She became it by saying yes to what had already been decided about her. Here is the question I need you to sit with, because it is going to reorganize something in how you have understood your own story. What if the message God has been building toward you, the one that brought you to this exact moment, is not primarily information about you? What if it is a revelation of you? I have seen it in the lives of people standing at the same threshold you are at right now. They have been waiting to receive something. They have been asking God, "What is your message for me?" And the answer that has been waiting, quietly and faithfully, through every season that felt like silence, is not a plan, not a date, not a set of instructions. The answer is this: you are the message. Your life. The way you move through suffering without losing what matters. The way you see what others dismiss. The way you restore things that everyone else has already written off. The way you hold a door open for people who do not yet know they need someone to hold it. That is the divine communication being transmitted into the world through you, not someday. Now, but before you can carry that fully, something has to happen. And it is the hardest thing I will ask of this moment. There is a version of you that has been waiting for permission, waiting to be chosen by someone whose opinion you gave authority over your calling, waiting for someone else to see your potential and name it before you felt safe claiming it yourself. And that version of you, though it served a real purpose in a harder season, though it protected you when you needed protecting, is the one that has been standing between you and the fullness of what you carry. It is time to let it go. Not with violence, not with shame, with gratitude, because it kept you safe when safe was what you needed, and then step forward. Let me say what I have been building toward, and then I am going to say it in layers, because this is the truth that reorganizes everything. You are not waiting for the message, you are the message. Hear that, not as an encouragement, not as something kind someone says to make you feel better on a hard day. Hear it as a statement of fact about the nature of what you carry and what you were built for. There is a word in ancient Hebrew, shaliach. It means something more precise than the English word messenger. A shaliach is not someone who delivers information about the sender. A shaliach is someone who carries the authority and the presence of the sender into the room. When a shaliach enters, the one who sent them enters. When they speak, the sender speaks. The shaliach does not represent an idea. The shaliach embodies a person. You are not carrying a note from God to the world. You are carrying God's intention for what He wants to do in every space you enter. That is why the preparation took as long as it took. That is why the formation had to be as thorough as it was. You cannot carry that kind of weight without being built for it first. Let me speak to who you specifically are. You are the seer. You perceive what others cannot. In a room full of noise, you hear the undertone, the thing underneath the surface conversation that no one else has said out loud yet. In a situation everyone has written off, you see the thread of what is still possible. This is not imagination. This is the gift of a spirit that has never fully lost the frequency it was born with, no matter how long the drought lasted. You are the voice. You give language to what the people around you feel but cannot name. You have said things sometimes almost accidentally, in moments when you barely knew what you were going to say, that changed someone's direction. You do not always know the weight of what you said, but they remember. Years later, they still carry it. You are the wounded healer. The pain you walked through was not waste. It was not punishment. It was preparation. The people who are going to be healed by your presence, by your testimony, by your willingness to stand in the room and say, "I was there and I came through," they cannot be reached by someone who has never been where they are. Your wound is not a liability. Your wound is your credential. You are the bridge. You exist at intersections between generations, between worlds, between people who would never find each other without someone like you holding the middle. You were built for the threshold, not to live there permanently, but to hold it open long enough for the people coming behind you to get through. And you are the spiritual warrior. You have not collapsed. under the weight of things that broke other people, under the pressure of seasons that had no visible end, under the silence that felt like abandonment, you remained. Not because you are stronger than everyone else, because you were forged for exactly this kind of weight. And that forging is not finished, but it is bearing its fruit right now. You are not behind. You are on time for the version of time that actually matters. You are not overlooked. You are being protected until the moment of fullest impact. You are not too broken. Your breaking is the credential that gets you in the room. The message God has been sending is not still on its way. It has already arrived, and you are holding it. Before we close this space together, I need to name one more thing. There is a habit that many called people carry into a moment like this. It is the habit of control, the need to manufacture the confirmation before moving, to generate the certainty yourself, to feel the feeling strongly enough before you are willing to act on what you already know. And that habit, though it is rooted in a real desire not to be deceived, not to be wrong, not to be made a fool of by your own hope, has kept more prepared people in the waiting room longer than almost anything else. The eagle does not create the thermal it rides. It does not flap its wings harder and harder trying to climb by its own effort. It learns to read the invisible current, to position itself in the place where the wind is already moving, and then it opens its wings and lets the current carry it to heights its own strength could never reach. You cannot manufacture what you are carrying, but you can stop fighting it. You can open your wings. Here is how, in the simplest possible terms. When you make a decision in the days ahead about your direction, your relationships, your energy, how you spend what you have, ask not, is this safe? But is this aligned with what I carry? That one question reorients everything. It shifts the center of gravity from self-protection to purpose. Try it. You will feel the difference immediately. And in the morning, before the noise begins, before the demands of the day arrive, say this one thing, not as a formula, not as a performance, just as a true statement about what you are walking into. I carry something today that someone needs. Hold that. Let it orient you. Walk into the day from that place. Not striving, not forcing, carrying. Let me take a breath with you here before we close. We started this by noticing a weight in your chest. And I told you that weight was not what you thought it was. I told you the silence you had been living in was not God's absence. It was something being built at a frequency you were not yet tuned to receive. Then I showed you what was blocking the signal. Then I told you the truth about who is doing the receiving. And here is what all three of those things have in common. None of them required you to be more. None of them required you to be further along, more healed, more ready. Every single piece of what was shared tonight was designed for the exact person you are right now in this season, with this history, with this specific combination of wounds and gifts and unanswered questions. I cannot tell you when the fullness of this becomes visible in the external parts of your life. I can tell you that the work happening right now in you, not around you, is the most important work that is being done. And if something I said tonight did not land perfectly, release it gently. You know your story better than I do. What I know is this: you did not come here for nothing, and you are not leaving empty. I want to close this in a way that honors everything we have walked through together. What I am about to speak, receive it. Not just with your mind, with the part of you that has been waiting the longest. God, Father, the source of every good thing that has ever found its way to you. We come to this moment with gratitude, not for the easy seasons, though those were a gift, for the hard ones. For every morning when the person listening to this chose to get up and keep going, even when nothing around them confirmed it was worth it. For every act of faithfulness that no audience witnessed. For every prayer that felt like it stopped at the ceiling, and for the truth that the ceiling was never there. The prayer landed. It always did. You see everything this person has been carrying, every layer of it. The weight they have shown the world, and the weight they have kept to themselves in the dark. You see the questions they were afraid to ask out loud. You see the nights when the faith was thin and they held on anyway. You see the moments of almost giving up and the grace that came through in the smallest, most unexpected form and gave them just enough to keep moving. You see it all, and you call it faithful. So we release. We release the ceiling that was never real, the invisible limit on what we believed was possible for a life like ours. We release it. We release the comparison, the measuring of our timeline against someone else's assignment, as if God only had one path and we somehow ended up on the wrong one. We release it. We release the identity that waited for permission, the version of us that needed someone else to name the call before we were willing to receive it. We release it. We release the old wound that became a wall, the hurt that was real, that was valid, that protected us when we needed protecting and now must be thanked and let go. We release it. We release the voice that said, "Not yet, not you, not enough." We release it. We release the fear of being too much and the fear of not being enough, both of them together at the same time. We release it. We release the story that ends here. Now we activate. We call forth the seer. Let the gift of deep perception rise to its full operation. Let nothing suppress it any longer. We activate the voice. Let it speak with clarity and courage into every space it enters. We activate the wounded healer. Let the testimony be released at the exact moment the right person needs to hear it. We activate the bridge. Let every connection that belongs in this season arrive, and let every connection that does not belong fall away gently. And we activate the spiritual warrior, the one who held the ground through everything. Let that strength now be used not only to survive, but to build. We speak protection over what is rising. Guard it from premature exposure, from being seen before it has taken its full shape. Cover it from the familiar pull of the old story that knows how to pull things back down. What has been lifted, let it stay lifted. And now we declare, I am the message God is sending. I am the answer to prayers I have not yet heard. I am prepared, I am positioned, and I am ready. We are chosen, not for comfort, for impact, not for the easy road, for the necessary one. It is done, it is sealed, we receive it, and so it is. Amen. Before you go, type the word message in the comments. That is all. Just let me know you received this. Let it be a small act of claiming what was placed in your hands tonight. For anyone who wants to support the work of clearing the signal, the 7-minute audio track we spoke about is linked in the description and the pinned comment below. It is there for anyone who feels called to it. No obligation. And if someone in your life has been faithful through a long silence, someone who has been waiting and wondering and holding on, share this with them. The message that was meant for you might be exactly what they needed to hear. Go carry what you have been given. The world is waiting for what only you can bring.